Welcome everybody, my name is Leon Verrooy and we're at a special edition. Normally we do Playgrounds TV and we have In-Depth and we have the book club, but hey, we're on site again. Playgrounds, the art department is live, but in the flesh. So downstairs there's like a huge event going on. Today we had like 2,000 visitors who could imagine that 2.5 years ago. And so we're back and we're going to review the day a bit, but we're also going to discuss some topics that were like quite merging throughout the day. And we have some special guests invited, people that had like different kind of perspectives on the festival today, and I'm going to introduce them briefly. On my side, there is Stijn Windig. He's a concept artist, VR evangelist. Can I say, oh, well, you're a big fan of VR.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan,
Yeah.
you like it.
It's
You
not
like
not religious or anything.
no, not that religious, but like a passion.
Passionate about VR, sure.
All right. And we have Didier Konings. He's here from LA. He's Dutch, but he moved over to the States to learn the tricks and the trades. And he's also going to make a new film over here. We're going to ask some questions about that.
Cool.
We did a talk today at our event. And we have our lovely host with the beautiful name, Leon.
Thank you.
Who hosted stage 2 today. And we also want to hear more. And he's next to that, of course, also very talented concept artist. Yes. Hey, first of all, we're back again. We're live among people. How was that experience for you, Stijn?
Yeah, that was great. It was just great. I hugged 100 people today.
100.
Probably. It was like everybody kind of looked like they were trying to catch up for the past 2 years. It was like you see somebody from across the room, dude, and then, and then somebody else, and it was the whole day was kind of like that, kind of chaotic and joyful.
Like a big reunion.
Kind of like a big reunion, yeah. It was very also tiresome in the sense that I've been sitting at home like most of us for 2 years and kind of forgot how tiresome it is to
meet people.
To be really social. And we're all pretty much introverts to begin with, probably. But you could tell by all the smiles that everybody was enjoying that very much.
Right.
It was great.
And you, DJ, how is it for you to be back in the Netherlands, meet all those people again?
It's
but
great.
also among people?
Yeah, no, it's like to be back. First of all, it's great to be reunited with family and friends and be in my home country. But to then be back on playgrounds out here is just on top of that, fantastic. It's great because it's also a place where you meet a lot of people that you haven't seen in many years, or you meet a lot of new people. So yeah, that was fantastic.
It's a funny story because you wrote me, I invited you, and then you wrote me, yeah. I didn't know you were like, you already knew Playgrounds, so I'm also always like quite humble and say, do you know Playgrounds? And then normally people say yes, and then I'm happy. But so you never know. So I asked you, and then you told me like, yeah, I visited Playgrounds all the time. It was one of my wish to speak once at
truly
Playgrounds.
is. Yeah, no, it's my favorite festival, to be very honest, and it's an honor to be asked. Because like I mentioned during our introduction call. Like I used to be in the audience, like with people and like watching all the cool artists you discover and people and get really inspired by everything you see. And then now to do something back is just something that I love to do, to give back.
Because you told me, and I was like really I was humbled by it. It's like that you're saying like, okay, when I was at Playgrounds and I saw like a Sylvain Wood and Jorik Doudsey, it really opened your eyes at a certain moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like I was still a student at the Film Academy in Amsterdam. And I saw the talks and like you're still navigating in that time to like I can go that direction, I can go that direction. There's so many options still. You kind of have to pick a lane at one point as a student to like focus on something, So I was like, Yorick showed like he was doing all these matte painting things for big films, and I was like, wow, I really connect to that.
Yorick Doudsey, concept artist, did matte painting by
yeah,
ILM. At
yeah,
ILM.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I was like, wow, and working on those big films is, it's such a cool romantic idea. But I think as people from the Netherlands, you not necessarily think that that's achievable by default. You kind of have to be convinced that that can be
You
an
have
option.
to win that lottery. It's
Yeah,
not-
and but at the same time, like in sales talk too, I saw that, and I was like, they are also able to make passion projects and personal short films or like personal projects. So I was like, that's something, that's an ambition I also have since I was a kid. So and they were able to manage to do that in their lives. And I was like, wow, I was very inspired. And I remember I called my mom on the train back to Rotterdam. I was like, I'm really inspired because I think I really know more clear what my path is going to be. So it generated focus for me, and yeah, so far I always look back to it as playgrounds being a special place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know what the fun thing
Nice.
is? Like, it's probably going to be full circle because, like, maybe 10 years from now, someone will say, you know, back in the day
Yeah, I
in
saw
2022, I
DJ
saw DJ's talk,
That-
and
that
then
will
he
be,
inspired me
really
so
cool.
much to, yeah, I can see that happening.
I hope
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's my goal to inspire people this time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's also inspiring to see new people, and with the portfolio reviews was a lot of fun to help and to.
I think it's also
yeah.
really important for doing these kind of events is that you actually share your knowledge and experience with
Mhm.
others, so that they can learn from you, and
Yeah.
you actually together you build up knowledge, and that's also why we think it's so important that it's quite low threshold to enter. So it's important to have like students from all directions,
Mhm.
from all ages, because you never know if there is a Didier Konings in the middle that actually found
Yeah.
his goal
Yeah,
of
yeah,
life
yeah,
in the
exactly,
filmmaking and wants to go for it. And we don't want to exclude anybody to follow their dreams or to be inspired. So it's
Mhm.
not for the happy few kind of festival, but
Yeah.
like for everybody still navigating in which kind of field you want to explore and which you want to develop yourself. Leon, last
Yes.
but definitely not least,
okay.
you hosted like stage 2.
That's right.
How was it for you to
Yeah,
be back? Because you're
crazy.
hosting. You did our online
Yeah, yeah.
events. You did Berlin. Now
Uh-huh.
you're doing.
Yeah, I went. I think I've been to all of the art departments since it started. About, I don't know when it started. 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
2017 first
Okay,
edition.
17.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 5 years ago. So yeah, no, it feels. It sounds sentimental, but it feels like coming home for a second. And then, at one point when I was standing on stage, I realized, oh, this has been 2.5 years since we actually done this, and it's a really weird feeling. At first, I was scared because I thought I actually had COVID before going here, so I was already afraid that I had to cancel. But luckily, it was just like a common cold, so I was able to come here. So the first anxious part was over, and then I was on stage, and I was trying to announce Pauline Vos, and then I was like, I haven't talked in public for about 3 years, and it felt weird. So I was stumbling over my words, and I really had to catch my flow again, because normally for me it's not a problem to speak in public, but now it was
It's a
challenging.
different thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you also were quite involved in all our online editions.
yeah, but it's
And-
easy. Online is easy because you're talking to your screen, and you can you can make jokes. You don't know, you just pretend everyone is laughing, and right now if you make a bad
Yeah.
joke and there's just like a room of silence, that
We were used to silence on the other side, but now it's strange that everybody
Exactly.
shut their mouth up.
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Like,
So yeah,
Yeah.
there were a couple of hiccups for me at the start, but then once the day was going on, I started feeling it a little bit more. And
I think
Yeah.
everybody was like a kind of
Yeah,
a
I
little
think
bit
so.
like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
finding your new role in
Rusty.
Yeah.
this new
Yeah.
situation.
Mm.
And,
Yeah, even the visitors were sort of feeling their way
should
out.
we
like-
hug you?
Yeah,
Should
what-
we?
yeah.
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 But it is also great that actually it's possible again, and people got
Yeah.
used to it quite quickly. So
Mhm.
like
Oh,
within
yeah.
2 hours, I thought like everybody was like settling down, and it was like
Absolutely.
the playgrounds as
Yeah.
we are used to experience it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, hosting stage 2, you saw a lot of talks, and
Yeah.
you did the talent stage.
Mhm.
Talking about talent and giving them a stage.
Yeah.
What do you think about the talents what they present
I
nowadays.
absolutely loved it. There were Juliana and Alina. They had such personal stories, really, really amazing. And they both graduated quite recently from the animation masters, so they're still very much trying to find their way. And it was really interesting to see how they were really following their hearts and like their personal experience. Especially, you know, Alina being from Ukraine with everything going on, and she's trying to, you know, use those experiences in her work. And then for Juliana as well, who was doing a project about motherhood, very inspiring to see. And then we also had Tim van Helsdingen, who is just a technical monster, and he was just, you know, putting 5 hours of knowledge within a 10-minute talk, and it's just really interesting to see because he's a Houdini expert, and it's for some people that's always a bit, how is he doing that? Is he pushing buttons? Is he using some kind of wizardry? But yeah, he made it sound very cool and appealing, and so yeah, 3 very different people, all very interesting. I wish they had more time to talk. So yeah, maybe next time we should give them like
It was a kind of a pressure cooker presentation.
Yeah, no, but I
kind
love it because
elevator
it gives people the opportunity to present themselves. Yeah, yeah.
and get used to do that, and get yourself heard
Exactly.
about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
project.
And they were at least Juliana and Alina were very nervous, and then after that they were like, oh, that was it. Okay, sure, let's do it again. Yeah. So yeah, very, very nice. It was very, very successful in my opinion.
Hey, and you also saw the talk of Esmen Lush. What do you thought about his talk? Because you were like,
I think it was, I was like, wow, this is a great presentation. Like, it was very organized in terms of the slides, very clear. No, it was just, it's cool that it was so focused, because there's so much you can tell about art and the fundamentals behind it, that he just used contrast as the main subject. It's great because it's all the information sticks. It's not an overload of the whole thing or something that's extremely compressed. I think it was very knowledgeable, and
because you are like quite an experienced artist already, working in LA on big blockbusters projects. What do you learn from a person like Esmen Lush? Because we never stop learning, right? So what did you got from that talk?
Well, in terms of experience, like it's always weird to hear that, you know, because it's, to me, it's a perception thing. I don't look at it that way. I don't know how that's for you guys, like to judge your own work, or like it's hard for me to look at it in that way. I always feel like there's so much to grow into, and I see works of other people, and that like that's. I think that will always be the case. But sorry, can you repeat the question again?
No,
Like,
as you, as like
off.
already an experienced artist in the field of concept art, he's Esmen Lush also concept artist, character designer. So what do you take as an artist? What did you learn from him? Because we never stop learning.
No, I think it was very cool, like how contrast has so many. There's so many elements of that I was like, wow, that like the examples he showed me made it really clear, with the Aladdin character designs, and how like in all the shapes to bring in like something that is in contrast, right, with the shapes that are mainly present, and
so creating clarity in your work.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Make it readable, even though there are many elements in it.
No, it's really cool to see how much in depth it was, and I felt like for me, with contrast, I look at it in also storytelling, like with who characters are. You know, like for example, we talk about Breaking Bad. You have Mr. White and Jesse, and they're very much in contrast in who they are, and just how we boil down with the Up as an example too, like how these characters are expressed in such a contrastic way. It's really cool. No, I felt all right, was great.
Hey, and Stijn, you were like really busy with showing people the possibilities of VR and medium, and
sculpting.
And sculpting.
VR sculpting, yeah.
VR sculpting. How are these responses on people that were sculpting for the first time?
Yeah, it's usually people who haven't tried it before, so it's nice for them if you just basically tell them these are the tools, press this button, then do this, and there's they get kind of happy and childlike because you're sort of conjuring stuff out of thin air. You go, oh my God, I've made something, and then you can grab it and manipulate it, and it's always fun to see them being surprised about the fact that, and it's actually the people that haven't any experience in 3D or VR are the most fun to watch because they get the happiest. It's like the people who have a bit of experience usually get, oh, I can actually use this in my work.
Yeah, they get very technical. Yeah.
Yeah, then they get technical, and sometimes there's somebody who just runs off like, this didn't happen today, but the last time, like 3 years ago, there was one girl who had no experience whatsoever, and 20 minutes later she made a 3D horse, like a pretty good horse. And I can't make a horse. I don't really know what a horse looks
It's
like.
a difficult thing.
It's very difficult
So
animal
when you do
to
a
sculpt.
first thing, drawing a horse is difficult, but first time sculpting a horse is
Yeah, and she was and she was surprised at herself, going, "Oh my God, I made a horse." So that's, for me, that is super fun, and it's also fun because I'm interacting with people one-on-one all day. So I just meet a lot of people, and they're all happy. So it's all very
You're a happy people maker.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, but why do you think? Because it's great that you always let people explore and make them happy within VR. Why do you think it's also important in the field of concept artists and how the industry develops itself?
Well, the advantage of VR is, well, especially in Medium, which is a very simple program, because Leon is using a lot of VR as well. He's using Gravity Sketch, which is has slightly more buttons, but in basically you have like 6 or 7 buttons and you can make something. So it's easy for people who are scared to get into the technical aspect of 3D, because you're using a 3D package, you have a million buttons and you have to read the manual. You can't do anything before you have to get into it. This is just, these are 2 buttons, do this, do that, all right, you're off.
It's intuitive.
So it's intuitive.
There's almost no
that's
learning
good.
curve to it. It's just you
Very
start
small
from day
learning
one.
curve.
Yeah.
And it feels very feels very natural. Like in 3D, if you want to turn an object around, it's like 3 or 4 movements. You have a keyboard shortcut doing this and this and that. In VR, it's literally just this.
Yeah.
So you can do this, and it feels much more tactile and much more intuitive. So it's good for people to get into it, and people who already have a bunch of experience, they can just be faster. So they can put out more ideas in the same amount of time. And it doesn't really feel like working. In VR, you're just in your own world. You put on some nice music, and you totally forget the rest of the world, and then you're done, and you think, oh, I worked for 2 hours, and I worked for 20 minutes. There's something weird with time in VR as well.
Yeah, it's
I do sound like an evangelist.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just it doesn't really feel like working to me anyway.
Yeah.
It sounds more healthy to me as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Like
good if you stand
With,
up.
yeah, with
Yeah.
like
But it's the same thing when you had the Wii came out, the Nintendo Wii.
Oh yeah.
The first month you go, I'm
Yeah.
playing tennis,
Yeah.
and after 2 months you're
That's
playing
exactly
on the
what
couch.
it
oh
is,
right,
yeah.
yeah, I
So
see.
at home,
The
I'm
fir-
not very physical at
yeah,
all
the-
anymore, and
Yeah.
you are lounging on there.
Yeah, exactly. The first half year was just like running laps around my office, and right now I bought like an IKEA lounge chair, and I'm just like this,
totally.
like the entire morning.
Yeah,
Like a cup of coffee here, so like blind, I just like grab my cup of coffee while I'm still in VR. I
Right.
found a way to do things.
You have a hose. Like
yeah.
slurping.
Yeah.
Hey, and as a concept artist, why did you start using it?
I mean, it's so dang fast. It's really crazy. And you know what I found with regular 3D software, which I've been using for 10 years, is that some things are just very time consuming to make. So a car, a vehicle, a monster are just, it's pretty hard to sculpt that in a regular 3D program, because I don't know, it doesn't feel, you have to do so many clicks. And then in VR, I don't know, it just got so much faster. So my toolkit got from the Leon who was just making science fiction cityscapes to suddenly the Leon who was making monsters and vehicles and even characters sometimes, and outfits and shields and weapons. And beforehand, I couldn't just do it because I'm not a great modeler with regular 3D software. So it's usually just architecture because that's something I know. But then in the VR, it's just with a couple of hand gestures, I was able to make
Yeah.
anything. And
It sort of
yeah,
broadens
it
your
broadens
range.
It broadened my
Yeah.
range, and for
Yeah.
the work that I do right now, it was incredibly helpful. So I use it when I'm on a contract. I use it every day, definitely, like at least 3-4 hours a day. Yeah,
Hey, but you also, next to that, you also work, you were painting again
yeah.
during the whole pandemic.
Oh, like actual painting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a hands-on analog
Yeah.
water paint.
Yeah, I try. I'm not sure why I did that because I was never a good drafts person. I only started like doing the 3D stuff when I was 19. But I don't know. I think it was just something to get away from the computer. And then people like Jörg, like the urban sketchers, they were just. It just looks so appealing, like the crazy lines with the watercolors. And I was at one point like, I want to do that as well. So I just started picking it up, and it's still very, very early stages, but it's nice because for me it doesn't. There's always such a competitive nature to our work, and with watercolors, I don't expect anything from myself. I'm not like, I have to make a cool city within an hour or whatever. It's just having fun, exploring a different medium than the medium that I use for my professional work. And so it's, so art is also my hobby again instead of just my work. I think maybe that's the thing.
That's the reason. So
Yeah.
enjoying the process.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but yeah, it just feels, it feels nice to
Natural.
actually draw on paper sometimes.
It's interesting, that combination of the digital and the analog, because we were discussing a bit earlier, you're working now on a new film. We're not going to talk about that too much, but just that you are like working in the visual effects industry, and in like already as a young person you start making your own visual effects kind of tricks and explosions and playing around making film, like actually exploring filmmaking and all its aspects.
Yeah.
The more hands-on practical aspect of it, is it like coming back to the industry as well, and also in the making of like film projects like what you're now doing when you have like more limited budgets to make it more practical?
Yeah, no, I would say like visual effects are always expensive, and especially when you work on low budget films and you're very limited, you have to make that into your advantage that you're limited. So if you just pick your battles wisely, like we can do only that much shots and visual effects, and so that's when we are gonna need it. But other than that, it's ultimately to serve the story. So if you already in the story try to design something that doesn't need like big visual effects and that kind of stuff, it can be used for just the small things that really need it. But I feel like with practical, like it's so hard to beat that. If you're on a small budget, like if you want to create a digital human in your film or a creature, like there's so many like people that are needed to make that happen.
Would you do that if you had unlimited budget? Would you go from
I
practical
don't know,
effect
like
to digital effects?
it's
or-
all about the result.
Yeah.
Like I would say, that wins, you know. And I know, like if even if you have all the tools that are there, it doesn't need like you need to use them all. Like
Yeah.
it's also good to limit yourself. I think films that have been limited, like the first Alien film or the first Star Wars or Blade Runner, like they were very limited. So I think there's something out of that limitation that derives from that. Yeah.
It makes you creative, right? Having
Yeah.
conditions and
Yeah.
Constraints,
Yeah.
in comparison to having like unlimited options, it's harder
Yeah.
to choose from
Yeah.
unlimited options instead of trying to make the best out of a quite limited situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That triggers a different kind of brain part that makes
Yeah.
us creative, I think.
Well, it's the same in design, you know, like if you get a blank canvas and someone is saying to you like
Do
make
something.
whatever you
Anything,
want,
yeah.
any world, anything that's,
Yeah.
then you can do so many things at that moment. It's like too overwhelming. It's too many options, and I think just limiting that. There's a vision. There's budgetary limitations. Those call for creative solutions and thinking out of the box. And yeah, especially on a low budget film, you always come back to like older techniques that really work and always do the trick.
I like it
Yeah.
walking around at playgrounds now and also seeing the expo,
Yeah.
the sketchbooks, the
Mm.
tactility,
Yeah.
the more practical
Yeah,
stuff.
and
Because
those huge clay orc heads are
Yeah.
Oh.
super cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's also a good thing. What you say, it's like in that limitation, trying to make something creative, like in a sketchbook and just having
Mhm.
your pencil or the intuitive of
Yeah.
claying. It's
Yeah.
actually on a revival. That's what I see with a lot
Yeah.
of young people. You see people with
Yeah.
sketchbooks and iPads everywhere. Just
Even
like
in film, there's a big going back to practical movement
Mm.
as well.
Yeah.
going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like blue screens being replaced slowly but
Yeah.
surely. Yeah, someone in the audience actually asked a question to me, like, how do I think there could be a bridge between practical and new, how do you say that? Like new, yeah,
Media?
so like more like real time.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
if
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a
Oh,
link
yeah.
LED
between that.
screens and that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
thing.
so I felt like there's definitely like ways and that you would scan in props like what they've done with the shows like The Mandalorian
Yeah,
and
I was thinking
use
exactly
real
about that.
locations and
Yeah.
but then use that in these new technologies to
Yeah.
These 360 rooms where
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah.
desert around you.
I
yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
important that the human factor is back in the filmmaking. I think the biggest mistake, it's not a mistake, but like the development,
a
that
bump.
all films
Yeah.
were shot in front of a green screen with people in blue suits
Yeah.
and with crosshairs everywhere, and that a director even didn't know anymore what you're doing, etc.
Yeah.
They just shoot a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
then they try to make a film
We'll
out
Yeah.
of
fix
it.
it in post.
We're fixing it in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
post,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
the grip on making the film in exactly the way you want it, even though you had all these tools, you're actually losing the grip of being on set
Yeah.
and having like this sense of drama.
But
in
it's,
the
it's
shots.
harder to keep the grip if you have so many choices. Like you said earlier,
Yeah.
it's just limiting choices is easier to determine your direction.
And I think like what's happening with The Mandalorian, and even though the real-time aspect of it, because like the rendering and the whole post-production part like took long, but now actually the director has a good, clear view,
Mhm.
real-time about what's happening,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and using practical things again and props and real people and real environments, even though they are like there on LED screens in like a limited piece of
Yeah.
desert.
Yeah.
But when you're looking through the camera, you actually see the set
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
That real-time development
Yeah.
as a director, storytelling, and that's in the end where it's all about, gives you much more control
Yeah.
immediately on set.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think it's
Yeah.
the on set again, but then digitally
Yeah, sure, yeah.
reconstructed.
I think more
That's
time
right.
and space too to like try things and to leave more time for the fun stuff. Because if you have these sets and all that, and you don't afterwards have to have to deal with all the technical issues of hair,
Yeah.
rotoscoping,
Being hair.
the light to make that work. There's so much pain beyond that if you
Tracking.
have to deal with to make it all happen in the computer versus when it's there.
That's totally true. And it's also that there's more time for the creativity again.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I
So
mean,
it's
yeah.
where you're focusing
Yeah.
on the right stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get lost in the whole technical
Yeah.
possibilities, but like
Yeah.
using them as a tool
Yeah.
to have more time for your creativity and focus on the storytelling and make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you doubting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking like this because it takes a long time to make like a nice Unreal 5 set because you have to prepare
Yeah.
everything. It's not like you can just
No,
chuck
no,
stuff
but
in
it's
and
like
it
it's
will
going
become cool.
towards that.
Yeah.
I'm not say
Yeah,
that it's
yeah.
already solved, but like the
and
intention to make it more
yeah.
practical.
I
again.
totally agree with everything you
Mhm.
guys are all saying, but I'm also kind of looking sour because there's always going to be
Of
a bunch of
course.
annoying
Yeah.
technical
Yeah,
hurdles.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Anyway, it's not going to get.
But I think it's such on an early stage in the industry that if this curve continues on, those
yeah. And there's
issues
also-
would resolve and would become better.
Yeah, and you're seeing like super cool movies being made by individuals or really small teams right now, and
Yeah.
also using either practical effects or going all digital with Unreal 5.
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
so many possibilities now that it's
Mhm.
it's really cool to watch and to
Yeah.
and it's not so much focused on large studios anymore. There's just
Yeah.
cool stuff coming out of Korea that you didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's
Talking about
fun
the
thing.
influence of technology and making more time for creativity and practicality, etc. There's also now actually AI.
Oh, he said it.
I said the word.
Yeah.
He said
I know
it.
it's 2 letters actually.
AI. Yeah.
But like we were discussing about it, you did some tests about AI. Maybe you can explain it a bit what you did.
Well, I always like figuring out new ways to make images, even though with AI the term making images is already dubious. It's like, but there's a bunch of tools that you can use online right now, like Artbreeder, for example, is a website where you can mix and match images and you can generate landscapes or portraits.
Yeah,
Or
like
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
photo bashing.
it's a sort of AI photo bashing. That's a good word. But now there's a whole bunch of other tools that have been coming up in the past couple of months or probably years, but I wasn't aware of it yet. But like these images are made by simply typing in keywords and then the AI. What I think, but I'm really not a programmer. What I think it does, it really roams the internet and sort of for those keywords and then finds images and then it mixes those images and then there's a whole bunch of voodoo happening with algorithms that I don't understand, and then stuff rolls out. So you can make images by just telling. I feel like a machine whisperer. You're sort of telling the machine, do this, make something cool, make it have some mushrooms and something else, and then stuff comes out. And sometimes it's horrible.
For example, what were the
Yeah,
keywords
I was
in
trying
this?
to get cathedrals to walk here, so I'm just going walking cathedrals with long legs, mist.
Dali.
No, not Dali.
Was not okay.
This wasn't Dali,
Yeah,
but then
looks a bit Dali
watercolor
as well.
probably.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then this comes out, and I had a whole bunch that didn't look nice, and this one was kind of fun to watch. But I
amazing.
really I'm fascinated, and I don't really know what to think about it yet. But
Didn't you once put in my name into your
yeah.
search function?
We were on Discord
Yeah, we were
chatting,
talking.
and I was like, "Look, I can make a Leon Tucker." And I typed in, I know, big sci-fi city with spires, Leon Tucker, trending on ArtStation. If you type in trending on ArtStation, the image is literally going to look better. So that's already sort of
Yeah.
yes, kind of weird.
It's
You
like
can
a
do
hack.
rendered in Unreal as well. But then some images came out, and it really looked quite cool, and actually
Looked a little bit like
it looked pretty
like,
good,
Oh my
and
god,
also
I'm now
kind of-
obsolete.
kind of like a Leon
I am
Tucker.
quitting as of today.
You feel it's a trend?
But no, let
I
me
don't
put
know.
some
Yeah.
nuances in this because it's very good at a mood, but if you zoom in, there's nothing actually there. So this I typed in ruins and overgrown ruins and fireflies and John Howe, which is a famous painter. So it's plagiarism. It's
Yeah, a little
there's
bit,
a whole
yeah.
bunch of questions
Yeah.
coming up, but if you zoom in, there's no windows, there's no doors, there's just suggestion. So
It's
and
a
I c-
concept.
I actually quite like the fact that it's
Yeah.
sort of suggestive and it doesn't really finish stuff.
Yeah,
but
it provides a lot of visual noise to work off of. Yeah.
yeah, you can just look at it
Yeah.
through you close your eyes halfway and you go, that's a nice
Yeah.
mood, and then you sort of, if you're inspired, you can
Mhm.
use that, but you can't really tell this thing to generate a finished, cool
Exactly. Yeah.
looking piece.
So for all the people,
Yet.
Yeah,
so
I was
yeah,
about
But
to say.
that's the scary
Yeah.
thing.
Now there's
Yeah.
another one called Midjourney,
Yeah.
and I've seen stuff coming out of that where you're just going, ow.
Oh yikes! Okay,
It's very.
I am shutting my eyes for this. I don't want
No,
to
we
hear
have-
any of it. Yeah.
Is
I
it
think
a
it's
threat?
interesting.
Is it
Yeah.
a threat for
It's
the industry?
interesting.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, in my opinion, like as of now, not necessarily, because
Yeah.
it provides. Yeah, it will be probably. It depends on how good it gets. Because right now, what the AI doesn't do is designing stuff. So you can give it a lot of keywords,
Yeah.
but it's still.
It's
It
still
can
a
generate
stupid
what.
machine.
Yeah, what it's inside
Yeah.
a DJ's head or a Stein's head.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell it to make a Stijn Windig painting, but it doesn't have. I know it sounds weird, but the heart and soul of a Stijn Windig painting, so to say, it feels empty. I remember Jesper Eising did like you probably saw that.
Yeah.
He did an experiment online where he was trying to make a Jesper Eising painting without painting
a friend
anything.
of his did,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So a friend of his did.
And
yeah.
it looked kind of like a butchered
Yeah, so he did like
Eising.
Goblin,
Yeah.
Jesper Eising, but
Yeah.
then yeah, it was nice, and it kind of looked like a Jesper Eising painting, but it didn't have the design or the story
Yeah,
elements
exactly.
to it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that made me less scared, but right now when you're saying it gets better, it makes me more scared. But yeah,
But
Yeah,
we were always scared, like with the arrival
exactly.
of the computer.
yeah,
The arrival
The invention
like
of reading was it was scared because we would lose our memories. So there's always
Probably.
yeah, and the church
yeah.
didn't like it.
also the church never likes it.
So
It's the-
does it also give opportunities? Because I can imagine we were just discussing work on a fast pace. Normally you do like a lot of research and you're trying
Yeah.
to find your sources, and maybe you do a photo
Yeah.
bash to just start off.
Yeah.
Well, actually, making images like these, it does take a lot of time in the sense that you type a bunch of words and it just makes something ugly. Then you change some words, it gets slightly better. You change some words, it gets ugly again.
Mhm.
So it takes a couple of days to find a nice prompt. It's called a prompt. There's a movement, it's called promptism. So that's the
Promptism.
Promptism is the
Wow.
name of the AI art movement that's emerging
course.
right now. And there's huge discussions about whether it's art, whether it's original, what about copyright, did you make it or didn't you make it? And I have no idea where that's going. But I do know that I think the United States just passed a law that says an AI cannot have copyright, which means we don't treat an AI as a person who has copyright over an image, which kind of releases. I could say that I have copyright on this, but I wouldn't, because I don't really feel I have made
Yeah.
these. I've told the machine to generate these, and now
Yeah, but
maybe
you
I
just
can.
told me that you need a unique kind of code. It's like
Yeah.
poetry, right? If you have set
Oh,
the
that's
right
a nice
words,
one.
it
Poetry.
becomes a poem.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you-
It's digital
so you
poetry.
literally
Yeah.
So we
copy,
just
and
need to
then
be
there's
good
this
writers.
beautiful
I'm a
image coming
digital
out of it.
poet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just tell a machine.
Because
to-
there is already AI poetry.
that is actually quite good.
So we
The-
can throw
the-
away
yeah.
art school right now. We
It's
just
more
need to write
accepted,
good.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you do have to have taste. And I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups that people are very enthusiastic about it. And I can tell sometimes which person made which image. So it's not that the machine always generates the same type of
Yeah.
stuff. And I can tell by the tastes of people which image they have generated. So
Oh, that's cool.
there is some sort of a way to get your personality
Yeah.
in your image, which is why I'm not very scared. I only think you're going to be more like an art director than an artist,
Yeah.
in the sense you're going to push the machine this way or that way.
Yeah, but you still need the fundamentals and
But
the
you
knowledge
still need
that
to
you
know
have
how to make a good
accumulated over
image.
the years. Yeah.
You need to know what a good composition
Yeah,
is.
so
and
you would
color
say
and all that.
an art director with 20 years experience would make a better image than a student who just started out?
Yeah, right now I would say
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that sounds-
the case.
sounds- yeah.
And then, but
Sounds
it's
legit.
also context. Like you can make a couple of images and you can relate these images to each other in a narrative.
Mhm.
And this is still like a dumb machine
Yeah.
that is just generating stuff
Yeah.
based on input. So there's no connection between anything it does.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we are still needed to guide the thing through. But
Plus notes maybe, and like if I want to like see what's behind that building, how does that look like?
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
like I don't know if the machine can then.
well, this is
Incorporate that.
still images, but you can tell this particular machine to animate it, and then it just bloody well flies through the whole thing, and
Oh,
it looks
never
3D.
mind.
No.
Then that's great.
It
Then
looks
we're
like
there.
a psychedelic 3D trick,
Okay.
but
Oh,
it
okay.
actually looks quite interesting. So, and what I'm pretty excited about with AI is if you do photogrammetry, right? So
Mhm.
I have like a photogrammetry apparatus, maybe
Mhm.
an iPhone or something.
Yeah.
I scan you, and that's all good, but I'm too lazy to get to the back of the couch and check your back. What I would really like is that the AI sort of figures out what your backside looks like, so that I
filling in
don't
the
have
gaps.
to.
I
I
want
really
yeah.
like photogrammetry and 3D scanning, but it's also a lot of work to clean it up, and
Yeah.
you're always missing some essential part of the textures,
Yeah.
and the UVs are all messed up, so you have to figure out ways to work
I
around
just hope
it.
the AI
Yeah.
gives him a nice mullet or something. That would be cool.
Yeah, that
Oh,
would be fun.
yeah.
as well. Or maybe we have a mullet slider.
Yeah,
like-
the
Oh.
mullet slider.
That would be cool.
And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that that's
Yeah.
going to happen fairly soon, and that we'll
Please
all
call
be,
me. Then I want to figure that out.
I will.
I will be a model for the mullet design.
I will
mullet
give you
slider,
yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
mullet slide. That's great.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right,
Great.
we leave it with the mullet Schneider.
Slider.
Slider.
Slider?
Yeah.
What
Mullet
is it?
slider.
Mullet
Maybe I'm
Schneider.
stupid.
It's
No,
a
a
slider.
slider.
that
It's
It's
like
coming
curling
up.
this year.
It
Yeah.
will be
We
next
want
time.
DJ to have like 98% mullets on this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be an
Yeah.
AI generated hair
Mullet.
mullet. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being with us here tonight in this review, but also kind of a panel about
Yeah.
the future of film media design.
Thank you
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
The
Thank
whole
you for
thing.
having us.
I
Yeah.
learned a
It's,
lot of new things.
We have a
here,
new
so-
day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Really, really curious about what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And thank you, audience, for being with us in this stream. And we definitely will review day 2 of the art department tonight with other guests. Hope you will be there again, and hopefully you will be able soon to join us on the on-site or one of our on-site events. All right, don't forget to subscribe on the channel, and see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.